Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. Today we're going to be taking a look at how the keeper language is pronounced, so that you can sit down with the keeper can say something to you, you can understand it, and if you want to, you can reply back. We're going to cover all of that in this video. I do want to first of all say two things. Firstly, it's really important that you've seen the previous videos I've done on Keeper to fully understand what's going on here, because the language is fairly complex and there are a couple of conversions I'll be doing in this video which are a little advanced, so definitely watch those previous videos if you haven't done so already, just so you know exactly what's going on. And the second thing I want to say is that the resource I'll be using throughout this video is Kronorium.com. It's linked in the description down below. It has all the stuff you need, like base converters, grids of words, things like that, every number associated with every word. All of that is going to be on Kronorium.com, so link below, and you'll need that throughout this video. So, let's get started. Keeper pronunciation finds its root in a grid with 4 columns. In the first column, you have numbers from 0 to 8, which sounds very familiar if you've seen my previous Keeper videos, I'm sure. And then in the following 3 columns, we have start, middle, and end, which correspond to the beginnings of words, the middle sections of words, and the ends of words. If you hear a Keeper word, for example, I'll play a soundbite for one now. That was Krigagra. Okay, what you need to do is look at this grid and say, okay, Kri-ga-gra. Start of the word, we've got a Kri, so we'll look in the start column for the syllable that is Kri, and then we'll go along to the numbers column and say, okay, Kri is on the same row as 1, so we're going to write down a 1. And then we repeat the process. Ga is in the middle of the word, so we look in the middle column. Then we trace from Ga along to the numbers column and we get a 4. So we've got Kri-ga, and that's 1, 4. Then, finally, the gr is in that very same row alongside the ga, and so that's another 4. So the number that you have formed from this word is 144. One thing that's really important to remember that you'll be very familiar with if you've seen my previous videos on this subject is that Keeper words, specifically the words, are read right to left. And as such, the number 144, for example, goes from right to left rather than left to right like we would normally see in English or what have you. At this point, we can basically use the same method we used previously to translate written Keeper around the map. We have a word, in this case it's 144, and as I'm sure you remember, hopefully at least, it's going to be in base 9 because that's what the Keeper will have used to write it down. And so you need to either go to Kronorium.com, use the base converter and convert between bases, or do it in your head if you feel so inclined as well. You basically need to convert from base 9 to base 10. I recommend you let the website do it for you because it'll save you a lot of time. So a number like 144, for example, in base 9 becomes 121 in base 10. Then, just like before, once again, we look up that number 121 in our big Keeper glossary, that big grid of all the Keeper words, and in there you'll find that 121 corresponds to the English word apothecon. So, if you hear a Keeper saying, a Krigagra, then what you're actually hearing is the number 144 in base 9, so you convert it to base 10, and then look it up in the grid, and the Keeper is saying, apothecon. Let's do another example now to make sure you've got that completely nailed down and it's nice and clear, no worries about how exactly that process works. We're going to do the phrase Ul Krilu Amlo Lutsa Amhogarok Yat Lo Krigagra Lo Krirok. Straight away in that phrase, you can hear that there's loads of punctuation, right? The Ul-lu punctuation, the lo and the lu punctuation, the tsar and the yat punctuation. So we'll be ignoring those words for now because they don't follow these same rules in the same way that something like a regular noun would do, like apothecon or something like that. So we'll put them to the side for now and just focus on the following words. Kri, Amlo, Amhogarok, Krigagra, and Krirok. Kri is a nice one to start off with because Kri is 1 in base 9, which means it's also 1 in base 10, which means that it's just literally the word 1 when we translate it into English. Next we have Amlo, which is 2-0, arm low, so the low is at the end of the word. We've got nothing in the middle there, so it's literally just arm low 20, 20, converted to base 10, that's going to be 18, and then looked up in the grid, I believe that is dream or illusion. Next we've got Hogorok, okay, so this has a couple of extra syllables, it's got a few things in the middle, so Hogorok, that's 4 syllables, 2, 0, 4, 7, and that converted to base 10 is going to be 1501, which is banish when you look it up in the grid. The next word is Krigagra, which we've already done. If you remember, 144 to 121, that is Apothecon. And then finally, Kree-Rock, another one which is just a start and an end with no middle syllables. So Kree-Rock is going to be 17, that's going to convert from base 9 to base 10 into 16, and that gives us void or abyss or outer space when we look it up in the grid. So, even without any understanding whatsoever of the grammar or the punctuation of Keeper, all of those weird brackets and stuff, don't worry about those, don't worry about the nominalized phrases, even without that stuff, you can still get a fair bit of meaning out of a sentence, because we've gone from Ul Krilu Armlo Ludsar Hogorok Yatlo Krigagra Lo Kree-Rock into one dream, banish Apothecon, void abyss outer space. So it certainly sounds like it's saying, my dream as a keeper is to banish the Apothecons into outer space. You add in the punctuation and add in the grammar, and the meaning of that sentence pretty much stays the same. It just defines the tense of that nominalized phrase and tells you what the subject of the sentence is and things like that. But if you wanted to write some really messy Keeper and only do it via this grid of pronunciation, you very easily could do. If you had a Keeper language teacher, which I guess is me right now, whoa, that's a weird thought. Anyway, if you had a formal Keeper language teacher, they might have a problem with it because they might want you to add the grammar in and stuff, but I certainly think it's fine, so go ahead and do that. Finally, let's take a look at what the hell we need to do if we want to translate something from English into Keeper. The phrase I'll be using as an example is Quick Revive Perk Machine. Maybe you're in a map you've never played before, you want to ask for directions, you're like, hey bud, where's Quick Revive? I need some help here. The Keeper's going to point you in the right direction, but only if you can speak to it in the Keeper language. So, Quick Revive Perk Machine will be our example phrase. That's 2 separate words from the grid. Quick Revive is 1 word from the grid, Perk Machine is another word from the grid, and their corresponding numbers are 7957 for Quick Revive and 4469 for Perk Machine. Because we're now going from English to Keeper, rather than the other way around, we need to convert from base 10 to base 9. Before, we were in base 9 because that's what the Keepers were writing in, and we needed to convert that to the sort of human version. But now, because we're going from human to Keeper, we're going base 10 to base 9. 7957 becomes 11821, and 4469 becomes 6115. Now that we have those 2 words, we can very easily look at our grid of pronunciation and say, okie dokie, we've got, for example, 6115. The 6 is the start of the word, that's mir, M-I-R. Then the 1-1, they are both in the middle of the word, so that's going to be the repeated syllable car. So we're going to have mir, car, and then it ends with the 5, which is in the same row as leet. And so it's mir, car, leet for Perk Machine, and the first word in our phrase, Quick Revive, 11821, becomes Kree Kar Tar Lak. So now, if you see a Keeper and you scream in its face, Kree Kar Tar Lak, mir Karkalit, there's a chance the Keeper will go, oh, yeah, I know what you're looking for. First on the left, mate. Have a good day. That is the basic way you can convert from English to Keeper or Keeper to English and actually say it or listen to it. Like I said when I originally introduced you all to Keeper, the language is a little bit messy, and there are a fair few rules to remember compared to Apothecon. But that said, hopefully this video series has been useful and enjoyable. There is more to come, and I can't wait to explore some of the really interesting concepts of the language. But for now, please leave a like if you've enjoyed the video, that would be fantastic. Share it with your friends if you want to have a Keeper language conversation with them, that would be awesome, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Saul Mirja Luyan Ul Gola Blue Kree Sarkri Holalit Bat Un brigaga, lucria salit lut son mirsha bardal lucri.